You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Good morning, good morning. We talked all night through. Good morning to you and you and you.
Good for you, buddy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We are the Bible Guys, and welcome to another episode.
Man, we are going to be looking into Esther chapter 4. It's one of the boldest moments of standing for God and for good in the entire Old Testament. So the Jews are on the verge of annihilation, and the fate of an entire nation hangs
in the balance.
Dun, 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 dun. And it rests in the hands of one young woman.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ooh, it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
Going to be good.
Hey, before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and do a segment just for fun called Would You Rather. I like this segment.
I like
because it gives us two awful choices most of the time.
Yes.
And it forces us to pick one of the over the other. Would you rather? Number one. There's only 5 of them. The first one is, would you rather, Jeff, climb Mount Everest or drive to the foot of the...
Dive
to the foot of the Mariana Trench. I don't even know what that is.
That's the deepest place on the planet. It's the deepest spot in the ocean.
Oh.
So the highest mountain or the highest or the lowest spot on Earth. Yeah.
So dive to the foot. So it's saying dive is in like scuba dive?
No, you can't. It would crush you.
Submarine dive.
Yeah. It would crush you. So it's deeper than the height of Everest, I think.
By the way,
you'd have to be in a submarine.
By the way, do they build things that don't collapse?
I don't know if there's any human holding subs that go that deep, but we've sent
alien subs.
We've sent UAVs down.
Oh,
yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so would I rather? Well, then how could I go if I'm a human?
I don't know. Maybe there's a sub now that can do it.
Maybe. Okay, what would you rather do?
I think I don't know. Both of them are scary. I think if the technology was there, maybe the Mariana Trench.
I would literally have to pick the one that gave me the least amount of chance to die.
Well, I think they both are very dangerous.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Mount Everest, just because I feel like we have more of a chance to fight snow and gravity than we do probably the ocean.
So Everest is 29,031.7 feet high.
39,000. Okay, so
29,000.
So 30 grand.
29,031 feet.
Okay.
The Mariana Trench is 36,037 feet deep.
Below sea level. Wow.
That's an extra 17,000 feet.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't desire to do either one of those things, by the way. All right, number 2. You ready? We're going to move on.
Yep, go.
Would you rather publish a best-selling book? Ooh, yeah, that's pretty good. Or direct an Oscar-winning movie? Oh, this is set up for me and you. Come on. I'm going to choose the movie. You're going to choose the book, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I'm going to do the Oscar-winning movie.
Yes.
Oscar-winning
movie, you probably make more money.
Yeah, well, that's not why, though.
I don't know.
I just would much rather direct a movie
than write a book.
Mm-hmm. Although I like the idea of writing a book, though.
Yeah, I like to read books in the evening. My dad, when he died, I introduced him to Louis L'Amour. I think I mentioned that here recently. Back when I was a teenager, we didn't have TV, so I just read. And I stumble on Louis L'Amour and start reading Louis L'Amour books. He's wrote 150 books or 140 books, something like that. So my dad started. So when he died, he had every single book L'Amour, and he made a note of the dates because he read through them twice. Of the dates he read those books, and so now I have them all in my office. So I've been going back and rereading those. I like reading, man. I like.
You know what I discovered? I have to read in the day.
Oh, really?
If I read anywhere close to night, I get sleepy. I get sleep. I get sleepy. It could be like 8:00 at night when I normally wouldn't fall asleep already, but I start reading at night and I start to get sleepy.
Wow.
But if I read during the afternoon, I'm completely awake. And so, I don't know what it is, but I over the years, I have to do my reading in the day.
Well, okay.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is wild.
So you want to read number 3?
No, go ahead. Would you rather have a laugh that sounds like a foghorn or hiccups that sound like a rubber duck?
That's a great question.
I choose the rubber duck.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because hiccups are a lot less common.
Well, and beyond that, the laugh would shake the building. You ever been by a foghorn when it goes off?
Yes. Yes, I actually have.
You can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to choose the rubber duck too. You convinced me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At first, I was going to say it'd be great to be able to have that kind of power in your laugh.
Yeah.
But laughter is so common. Right. So, okay. All right. Number 4. Would you rather live 100 years in the past or 100 years in the future? Well, how can I know?
Ooh, do you get to pick?
How do I know?
We get to set the rules. Do you get to pick when in the future or when in the...
No. In other words, it's
100
saying,
years back or 100 years forward?
Yeah, so it's saying like...
Would I rather be alive in 1925 or 2125?
Correct.
Oh, well, which for you?
Well, how do I know? 2125 might be in a nuclear shelter somewhere.
Well, you'll be in heaven, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, but what if there is that nuclear before there's a tribulation?
I sometimes think I was born out of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever feel that way?
No.
Like if I could just choose a time to go back, it'd be the 1920s. For
Really?
real. I promise you.
With no air conditioning.
Oh, they had a little bit of air conditioning. Yeah. But yeah.
Ugh.
I would choose to go back. 1920s.
Yeah. You remember Back to the Future Part 3?
I remember that it happened.
Okay. So they're sitting down and Seamus, which is Marty McFly's like great grandfather, he's like, would you like some rabbit? And he went out and shot rabbit and he puts it in front of him and they're in this 1800s cabin and he's literally picking out the shotgun pellets, right? And it's just normal. That's what they're doing. They're all just picking them out.
Yeah.
And it's like, no thanks.
Well, we used to hunt rabbits, and that's how we did it when I was growing up. That wasn't in the 1800s, dude.
Well, what I'm saying
It was in the 1980s.
There's a lot of things that were cooler in the 1920s and 30s, but there's a lot of things that were not.
I think it would have been super exciting because flight was just beginning. Automobiles, skyscrapers, ships that could go, superliners, radio, record players, light bulbs.
Which means that you...
Right, all these things. It would have been so exciting.
You have no flying, though.
And the music was great.
So now you're going to give up traveling for TTI and flying over to the Middle East?
You just get on the boat. You got to go a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, see you in 5 weeks. Yeah. No thanks. Yeah. No thanks. So I'll pick the future.
Okay, you're picking future. I picked the
Number 5. Would you rather have thin crust or deep dish pizza? That's a tough one.
Oh man, those are my 2 favorite kinds of pizzas.
I'm going to go thin crust for me.
Thin crust? The best. So, I lived in Chicago for a long time. I've eaten at all of the pizza places, and I know there's lots of people with dumb opinions about pizza.
Dumb opinions.
So, the best deep dish pizza, I think, when you get it right, is Connie's Pizza in Chicago.
Wow.
Which is like 5th or 6th down on most people's list, but it's my favorite. Yeah.
Wow.
So, deep dish. I would go deep dish. Dude, 1 slice weighs like 3 pounds. It's crazy. It's so good.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, speaking of dumb opinions.
Dumb opinions.
You know whose opinion wasn't dumb?
Whose?
Mordecai's.
Ooh!
But Mordecai had the right opinion.
He has some good opinions.
Yeah, about what to do when it comes to Haman's...
Well, we are in Esther chapter 4.
We are.
And it says, when Mordecai learned about all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on burlap and ashes, and went into the city, crying with a loud and bitter wail. Oof. He went as far as the gate of the palace, for no one was allowed to enter the palace gate while wearing clothes of mourning. And as news of the king's decree reached all the provinces, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in burlap and ashes. When Queen Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hathach went to Mordecai in the square in the front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all Jews. He asked Hathach to show it to Esther and explain the situation to her. He also asked Hathach to direct her to the king, to go to the king, to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Esther told Hathach to go back and relay this message to Mordecai. All the king's officials and even the people in the provinces know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come to him for 30 days. So Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai sent this reply to Esther: don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this? Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Do not drink or eat for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. If I must die, I must die. So Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A couple of the greatest phrases in the Bible.
Really?
Of courage.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. Because one of the best lines is, who knows if perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this? Right? Because, what he's doing is he's recognizing that, maybe this is God's orchestration in your life. Who knows? Maybe you are to use your influence for this reason. Maybe this is the reason why you're in this spot. And I think that there's a lot of times where we don't feel like maybe we don't recognize our importance, right? We don't have to be queen or king, right? But like, for instance, just last night, there was a situation where I was with a good friend of mine who's, I've been one of his pastors for, 20 years or whatever. And we're with him and his son, and we're at this restaurant, and this server comes over and makes some comments. And I knew this person, this server. And so I decided to speak up. And I just decided that I'm going to leverage my influence and my relationship with this person to try to make a difference. So ultimately, it ends up with a church invitation, right? It ends up with, hey, show me your church. I showed her the church on the phone, and she's like, that's incredible, And so I'm really hoping right now she's going to be our guest. And it's just these small, teeny tiny, microscopic moments that obviously don't even compare to this massive moment in Esther's life, which her decision is going to control and dictate the future of an entire nation. But guess what? My decision might end up being a situation where God uses to dictate and control the eternity of an entire family, right?
Right.
So who knows what might happen? I have no idea what's at stake. So who knows? Maybe she comes and becomes a Christian, because I'm pretty convinced that she doesn't know God at this point. Maybe her boyfriend, fiance, is going to, become a Christian. And then who knows? Maybe they raise up their children in a Christian home, and all of a sudden their entire legacy starts to change, all because of this moment.
Yeah.
And by the way, isn't it true that that's the story of our lives, right? Like I never forget when I was sorry to take this,
but, please.
But I remember being in the mall one time, and I was going up the escalator, and then down the escalator is this kid that somebody brought to church that visited my youth group. We had a small church, 200 people, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a big friend day kind of a thing. And this kid's name was Sean Wheelis. And he had only come one time as a guest from somebody, and I remembered him. And I remembered his name. And as he was coming down the escalator, I wasn't going to say anything because I knew he wouldn't know me. And he didn't see me. And I decided in that moment, I was like, hey, Sean. And he's like, who are you again? I'm like, you came and visited my church. And now, Now he has a son. He has two sons, and now their entire home are Christians. Their entire legacy. He went to Bible college, right? He went into ministry, and now he works for an airline, but he still does ministry. But now his entire story that he tells says, he goes, Chris, what if you wouldn't have said anything to me on the escalator at the mall that day? He goes, thank God that you decided to say hi to me on that escalator, right? So he points his entire legacy to this single moment where I felt like God wanted me to say, hey, Sean, remember me? I'm the youth pastor guy, right? And that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the moment last night at the restaurant. I'm talking about every single time that God nudges you to do something, to leverage your influence, to leverage your relationships, to do something small that you think is so small in the moment that could change the entire legacy and history and eternity of somebody's life. Because you and I have no idea what's at stake when God nudges us to do something.
Yeah. And so just as Mordecai said, who knows if perhaps you were there for just such a time as this.
Yes.
Right? So maybe God sent you there on purpose, right? And it's not just talking about you. It's every listener.
That's right.
The circumstance you're in front of in the moment, the person you're around in the moment, that little nudge from God, respond. You think of a good thing to say it. You think of a good thing to do it. You think of an opportunity to maybe offer to pray for somebody, do it. Don't wait, because maybe you're there just for that purpose.
Right.
Right? And then... I was thinking through, I had a pastor when I was a teenager. His name was Jim Fisk, and he drove a IROC Z Camaro. And I thought he was,
the IROC.
Yeah, he was such a cool guy.
The IROC Z28?
Yeah, I was friends with his daughters and all that. Our families were really close. And I can remember him preaching about this one time, and he was a man of action. He would just do things. He just got things done. He's always kind of that guy, always hustling and all that. And I remember him preaching to our youth group one time, and he was the lead pastor, so it was exciting. He came, he got a bus, he put us all on the bus, drove us to Taco Bell, bought everybody Taco Bell. Then the whole youth group, it was like 80 kids or something, and then we went back and he taught us this, and I don't even know why those two were connected, but that's what he did. And he said, he talked about if you think of a good thing, do it. If you think of a good thing to say it. If you think of somebody who needs to hear the gospel, tell them. And he was talking about being a man or a woman of action. And he talked about this. Have a predisposition to go. Have a predisposition to do. Have a predisposition to act. And Mordecai had said, don't think that you can just go. She had power at this point.
Sure.
She had some money. She had a bunch of eunuchs that would help her out. She could have gotten a carriage, loaded it up, got some, and made an excuse. I'm just going to run, because nobody knew she was a Jew. Right. I'm going to go down to the beach. We're just going to hang out for a while. She could have tried to escape. Right. Hey, Mordecai, come with me. And Mordecai's like, don't think you can escape. Right? That's not God's plan. God's plan isn't for you to get away just so you can live. But that would be our first inclination. Our first inclination, how do I get me and my family away? Right. And instead, Mordecai goes, no, you're here. Don't you understand? All the junk you've gone through, being abused and taken advantage of by a king, but you got promoted to being the queen. All the junk that you've gone through might be just for this purpose, just to rescue the Jews. And she goes, I could die. He hasn't even called me in to talk to him in a month. Right. I could die for this. And he says, don't think you're going to get away. Don't think you're going to live. Right. So then she goes, okay, if I die, I die. And it's amazing to me, just that one message when I was a teenager, he talked about, if I die, I die. There's worse things than dying. And there is, right? If you're truly a follower of Jesus and you believe in heaven, there's worse things than dying. Dying without any character, dying having failed your mission, dying, right? There's all these things, and he just kind of started talking. That's worse. Worse than going in and attempting to do a great thing. There's worse things than that. And so, live your life in a way that is willing to risk it all in order to do great things for God and to make an impact for the benefit of other people. And that message is one of the messages that changed my life, because that's the way I want to live my life. Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so this thing is, it's set up in such a way to where we're looking at Xerxes' character, and she says, everybody knows that if you go into the king's presence, into his inner court, without being invited, everybody knows you're doomed. unless he decides to grant you mercy by holding out, and how obnoxious is this? By holding out his gold scepter, right?
Right.
You may touch the gold scepter, right? You're
Kiss the
pardoned.
ring.
It's like Thor Ragnarok. I pardon you from life.
Yeah.
And then he touches him with the melting stick and he dies. Anyway, sorry, another movie reference. Yeah. But anyway, but think about just the awfulness of the situation with Haman, and then think about the awfulness of Xerxes, where it says, "Oh, if I just walk into his presence uninvited, he's going to kill me."
Right.
That's horrible. If I die, I die. Literally, that's what you have to consider, right? Because after all, he's the king. Yeah. He's the God of the world.
So while God's name is never mentioned in the book of Esther, Mordecai's faith in God, faith in the fact that God was orchestrating these events in Esther's life.
Oh, tremendous.
That's there. And then she says, "Okay, would you pray for me?
And fast.
Let's all pray and fast." And that's demonstrating their commitment to God, where we only rely on you to take care of us and provide for us. We're not providing for ourselves. That's the idea behind a fast. But there's something really powerful about the collective group. It was her who did it. Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: "Go and gather together all the Jews of Susa," so that's all the Jews, "and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And my maids and I will do the same." So collectively, they got together. And there's a tremendous amount of power when we pray together, when we fast together, when we all lean in by faith to God over the same thing together. And she knew that was her only hope.
I just realized that's another reflection of Daniel. Remember in chapter 1 when he says, "Give us more time to interpret the dream," and then he says they spent all night praying and fasting. Right. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah. So a lot of comparisons here. So that's great, and so it's going to set up this unbelievable moment where she approaches the king. We're going to find that in chapter 5, and that's about our time. Any last sermons to take away from here?
Yes, maybe you are in the office you're at, or in the neighborhood you're at, or in the school you're at for such a time as this. Don't waste the opportunity.
Yeah, that's great.
If you die, you die.
Yeah, and we never know what's at stake.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. All right. Well, hey, hopefully we'll pick up with you and you'll join us tomorrow on the Bible Guys.